no, you got to do this, and it's funny really because Man United fans moaned about our last couple of Premier League results, and I was gutted that we didn't beat Wolves when we were the better team, and I would have liked to have beaten Bournemouth. But
you were lucky with the referee decision. Let's be honest.
Well, that's in the Evan Nilsson sending off, yes, but Adam should have been sent off. Let's not forget about some of the other crazy decisions in that game. For instance, Dorgu winning the ball, getting kicked, and getting booked for getting kicked. We weren't the only ones who had terrible, and they nearly scored directly from that free kick. So my issue with the calling out of the referee,
that was a mistake, that decision, and they've had to rescind it. So we know, like,
I understand that, but you're missing the point. Had they scored their second goal from that free kick that shouldn't have been one, would you be having that? Would you be talking about that today? I guarantee you wouldn't be. Only because it benefited Man United. Hang on. By the way, I'm not getting dragged into this debate. We're talking about something else because the game's over. The point I was making, because I'm going to run out of time, and you can argue it all you want, and I agree that it wasn't a red. I said it on my own show. But the bit that's annoyed me about that whole conversation since is everybody ignored the 3 or 4 terrible decisions that went in Bournemouth's favour in the build-up to that period. And what I mean by that, it's not about shit on United, shit on Bournemouth. It's let's call out the entirety of that shocking refereeing performance and demand higher standards rather than making it about Man United. We've got to stop this as fans. It's detrimental to the game. It's killing the game.
Yeah, I don't feel like you always do that when it's the other way around. When it's Arsenal robbed, Man United robbed, you can easily go and question every decision both ways and just say, yeah, the referee was poor for both sides. He made decisions in favor of Arsenal and against Arsenal.
But I called it out. So when you say I haven't done it, I called it out as a terrible decision.
No. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying you didn't have done it in this instance. I'm saying there's a lot of instances where you will hyper focus on one decision, and then we'll get a video like Arsenal.
So what game this season did Arsenal have a player wrongfully sent off in, where earlier on they should have had a player sent off?
Well, no, listen, I'm not going and doing equivalence of a sending off versus a sending off. So what I'm saying is, if we're going to do this now, then going forward, what we have to do is when these decisions happen, if in a game and it's Arsenal robbed, I think we can't have titles like Arsenal robbed, because in a game, you are going to get a referee. You don't make those decisions on both sides.
Hang on, but that, and if it does, then we call it out, and we've done that on the football terrace.
But it happens. Hang
on. But we've done that on the football terrace, Lawless. If, for instance, Declan Rice has a 2-footed tackle that he should have been sent off for, and doesn't get a red card, but then later in the game, Arsenal have a decision that goes against them, and they concede a goal, I will call both things out.
No, but talking about they're on the same level. We're talking about free kicks. You mentioned a free kick that shouldn't have been for Bournemouth.
That nearly led to a goal.
Yeah, and it happens. It happens often where Arsenal may get a free kick on the edge of the box.
So what you're asking for is exactly what I did. I called out the overall refereeing performance.
No, I think that should happen going forward. I don't think we should ever get a title saying Arsenal again.
Firstly, no one is telling me how to title my videos. No,
I'm just saying. Man.
But you can't do that. But you can't do that either. That makes sense if the referee made bad calls in both directions, like the Bournemouth Man United game. I concur. But if they don't,
no one can tell them how to title my
video. If they don't, so you're telling me this now? If this weekend referee has a brilliant game in the West Ham match, but then right at the end of the game he messes up and sends a West Ham player off when he shouldn't, and you concede from the subsequent free kick, and you don't have enough time to come back, you're telling me you wouldn't say you were robbed? Because
but I'm basing it off what you're saying, right? For the Bournemouth game, right? So what I'm saying is, you've pointed out, well, there was a free kick here and there was a challenge here. What I'm saying is, those things happen pretty much every game.
Hang on. No. We do not see in most games. We tell me how many games this season where a red card tackle has happened where the red card hasn't been given. A red card has been given later in the game that shouldn't have been, where a player has made a really simple, normal tackle with the ball, been kicked in the leg straight after, and been booked subsequently. Where is that happening every week, every game? When does that happen?
Yeah, I know, but in those instances where you're calling for reds, you could argue that some of them are subjective. It's not as clear cut and dry.
But then that's why there's loads of YouTube channels and loads of people giving different opinions. If I see a game where the referee is giving shockers in both directions, I'll call it out. If I think he's given a shocker in one direction, I'll support the club and the team that's been robbed, and vice versa. You can just do a different video, can't you, on your channel and say, I think both teams got robbed. You don't have to tell me what to say and do.
I'm not telling you what to say. This is why I said I think. I didn't say you should, you need to, you must. What
you're actually saying is this: I don't ever want to see a bad decision that goes against Arsenal called out in isolation, because then it gives Arsenal an excuse, which is nonsense. Sometimes Arsenal have been robbed, but equally this season, I said that the Saliba sending off was absolutely correct. Didn't call that one out. The Trossard red card, I've said, was absolutely correct. Against PSG, I spoke about it on the videos, released clips online that have had tens of thousands of views, that Timber should have conceded a penalty. This weird obsession that I don't call decisions out that go in Arsenal's favour is just a rank lie.
I'm not saying you don't do. I'm not saying you've never done that. What I'm saying is in these instances, in games, right, where Arsenal may get a decision against them, there's a good chance, and there's
like
happens where there's other decisions that go for
again,
them.
You're right. So for instance, if you look at the Declan Rice sending off earlier on in the season, that went for Brighton in that regard, it went against Arsenal. But if the reverse thing had happened earlier on in the game and Arsenal would have benefited, my reaction to that decision would have been different. But it didn't happen.
Does it have to be the reverse, though? Does it have to be the exact the two same decisions?
You have just sat here and said, okay, you can't say Arsenal have been robbed because there may have been similar decisions in the game
that
went their way.
Other decisions that went their way, not the same decisions. I'm saying other.
But you have got to present an argument here. Okay, so let's take the Declan Rice red card that we all looked at and thought was harsh, right? Let's take that one as an example. What other decisions happened in that game that went Arsenal's way that you thought were a robbery to Brighton? What were they?
No, but because I'm not saying anything was. I'm saying either was a robbery. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not going to sit here and go, well, there was this decision. What I'm saying is, if you talked about the free kick, yes. Oh, because they got a free kick they shouldn't, it almost led to a goal. That's why you're saying that was key. Well, it didn't lead to a goal. There's free kicks that happen all over the pitch that are given as free kicks. It shouldn't be free kicks that maybe could have. You don't know if they could have led to a goal. When
I called out the referees for the FA Cup game, where you're beating Aston Villa, and they gave a corner that was a million miles not a corner. It never deflected. It should have been a goal kick. I called that out because there was no other decision in that game that was as pivotal as that changed the direction. There was no decision that went in West Ham's favour in that match that led to a big goal scoring opportunity, a numerical advantage on the football pitch, a penalty, or a dangerous free kick. It didn't happen. So are you now saying that nobody should call out that refereeing decision that went against your team at all because of subjectivity? No, we have to call that out because it was a terrible
do that
decision.
For the Man United game. That's what I'm saying. If you're
on the wrong page here. We are saying Evan Nilsson shouldn't have been sent off. We all agree 100%.
Pivotal decision should have been 11 on 11. Yeah,
should have been 11 on 11. What I said, and you just did not listen because of your disdain. Weirdly, it's more about Arsenal than it is Man United. Is that I wanted the media to speak about the overarching terrible refereeing performance in that game. You are then saying, well, we've got to do that in all matches. And I agree with you. When you get 2 or 3 red card tackles that have all been given wrong, when you've seen the Dorgu tackle given wrong, when there's been loads of massive decisions in games that are wrong, we should be talking about the refereeing at large. When, though, there's a game like the West Ham example, where it's by and large a good referee game, but they make a massive mistake that costs the team, we have to talk about that individual mistake. Surely.
I know.
Do you agree with me? Fuck me.
No, listen, I think focus should be on the referee, but there's a narrative that gets pushed as if certain teams, there's an agenda against them.
Now, when it comes to me,
watch every video. You're saying that.
Yeah, but on every single video I've ever done where Arsenal have had a bad decision, one thing I push back against on all of them is I do not believe there is a conspiracy to stop and get Arsenal. I think that's a load of old bullshit. 110%. 110% there. Chelsea, back to Chelsea. Chelsea are getting top 5, aren't they, Nazir? Yeah, I think it's a very, very good chance that they get that. There's no doubt about it. They've got a great chance. DJ here says, for me, I want Spuds to win because of Terry turning TFT into a Chelsea weekly bashing, despite them being bottom half. Plus, they will sign some good players. DJ, so you want me to only criticize teams that are below Man United in the league, no matter how bad they're playing? Are we all in agreement? That's what we're going to do on the terrace now. So I have to praise Chelsea even when they're bad, if they're above me in the league. Are we? That means that. How far do we take this, DJ? Does that mean you can never banter my club because we've won more trophies than you? I will do it your way if you want, DJ. We'll do it your way if you want. We'll run the terrace that way. That means all of you have got to suck Liverpool's arse until you've got 6 Champions Leagues and 20 league titles. Are you all going to do it? I think not, my old pedigree chum.
He's a Chelsea fan who wants Spurs to win because you bashed Chelsea.
I haven't even bashed Chelsea. I've criticised bad performances. I've praised them when they've been good. He's just not happy that his team's been failing this year. Garner starting games whilst Mainu shipped to Watford. I mean, Mainu's just returned. He's going to start playing more football matches. He's bleeding all of the players that were out for long periods of time back.
Well. That picture's mad.
Yeah, there we go. I don't even know what that means there. Great show, guys, and big up the chat. Some